a recording. Go ahead, Irene, with the mission statement.
Sure. Helping Parents Heal is a nonprofit organization dedicated to assisting bereaved parents to become shining light parents by providing support and resources to aid in the healing process. We go a step beyond other groups by allowing the open discussion of spiritual experiences and evidence for the afterlife in a non-dogmatic way. Affiliate groups welcome everyone, regardless of religious or non-religious background, and allow for open dialogue. Attendance today at the Helping Parents Heal meeting is voluntary, and we are here for the benefit of learning from and sharing with other parents whose child has passed away. It is understood that our discussions are intended to be confidential and not designed to replace traditional therapy or spiritual counseling. Helping Parents Heal offers a wide variety of speakers to allow parents to be informed about many possible ways to heal, to connect with their children, and to learn about the afterlife. The views expressed by our guests do not necessarily reflect those of Helping Parents Heal, and we ask that you take from their presentations whatever may benefit you personally.
Hi, everybody. I'm Brian Smith. I'm going to introduce our speaker tonight, who is Ann Van Orsdel. Ann Van Orsdel is an intuitive and a medium. She believes that we were all born with natural abilities to connect with our higher self, and those of a transition to the other side of life. As a child, Anne had a sense of knowing about people and animals, and soon after the birth of her second child, her spiritual awakening began in earnest. She now knows that mediumship and being of service to the spirit world is her calling. Anne has been a medium for over 15 years and is continually enhancing her abilities for communication and collaboration with her spirit team. She believes that spirit wants to connect with us just as badly as we want to connect with them. And I'll put Anne's website in the chat, but it's annvanorsdel.com. And with that, I will welcome Ann Van Orsdel.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you, Elizabeth and Irene. It's so good to be here. And oh my gosh, just looking at least the page that I can see of everyone, lots of familiar faces. Some of you I've been in HBH meetings with in the past and doing some gallery readings and things, and others I've met in person. So it's great to have you all here. Thank you so much. Gosh, so much to talk about on these topics, and really appreciate everyone's interest in, of course, the afterlife and in communication with the spirit world. That's why we're all here. As Brian mentioned, my story really begins, when I was younger. I had imaginary friends, like a lot of people do, but I pushed it away, I think. And really, when I was probably in my early 30s is when it kind of came back and found me. I say that mediumship and the spirit world found me, and it was a calling, and it still is a calling. And by that, I mean, I didn't have any profound losses in my life at the time. I wasn't seeking anything like this. So it was really interesting how I came about it and the signs that are there. And now knowing what I know regarding that path is very similar to how many of you are coming on your journey and how you are awakening and unfolding, as we like to call it in our world over here, the mediumship side. But, it really is all of these signs and these wonderful, wonderful paths that your children are taking you on. So I guess for me, that's kind of a theme for tonight, for my talk, is first and foremost that we're all one. We are all in this together. And that's really important to know and to recognize as you walk this path. And, I think for me, and part of my journey and part of the story that I'll just tell right now, it's changing. It's changing every day. It's changing every month. And I always say that we, even those that might have a TV show or teach at the most acclaimed spiritual colleges, I believe that we're all developing mediums, and we will be developing until the day we transition. That's the way that it is. And, there's no pinnacle of accomplishment in this world. I really look at it as being of service to spirit is not just a lifelong journey, it's a soul journey. And gosh, I really want, if I can give hope to those of you, that are looking for it. It is really about knowing that there is now a new relationship between you and your child. There was this beautiful physical relationship, and now there's something that I hope that my words and others that speak to you can really shed some light on that new relationship. For some of you, it's very fresh and you're not sure how you're going to navigate, and others, you've been on this for decades. But I do want you, as we talk tonight and we interact, to really think about, what does my new relationship with my child, my children, what does this look like now? And I think if you have that in the back of your mind, as I speak, as we do some questions and answers, and as we do a sitting in the power exercise that we'll do here in a few minutes, really set that intention of wanting to know and create with the spirit world what this new reality is going to look like. And I'm here to say that it is beautiful. So many of you have had beautiful communications from your children, knowing that they're with you always. And, it's a blessing. Every one of them is a blessing. And they happen when you least expect it. So we'll talk a little bit more about that later, but just be open to that. Be open to replacing the sorrow and sadness and the fear with new opportunity and the potential for joy, the potential for being open to something that you might not even understand how it exists today, because I don't think we're supposed to understand. I think that's part of our journey. So for me, that's kind of how it came about. I was made aware of these abilities. Like many of you, it started with a knowing about someone that I didn't know prior. Maybe I heard something, a ringing in the ear. I had kind of all of those, I would say, traditional signs that you've probably heard many speak of. And then I wanted answers because, I was raised Catholic. No one talked about this in my world. And I thought, why am I being directed to the afterlife and to understand what that's about? And I'll tell you, I had a real fear of death as a child. I do remember that very, very clearly, and recurring nightmares about it. They weren't scary, but looking back now, I know that those dreams were setting me up for this work, because I would feel the presence of what I now know were my guides. But at the time, I didn't know what I was experiencing. So I think that's important to note. And when we think back to the experiences that we all have, and that's where I think you'll really tap into your own intuition and realize that it's there and that you can unlock it. And if you want, if the desire is there. So after I have my children, I have 2 boys, and after my second child, I was very, very much called to watch mediums do their platform presentations, or would see a psychic at the time about, maybe a career decision or something like that. I was really, really intrigued by it, and it just kept growing and growing and growing. And, I just decided I have this real analytical mind, in the sense of I want to know how things work and why they happen the way they do. And so I went on that path to seek answers. I read every book and watched every show I could, and then ultimately decided I've got to understand if how I'm getting this information and what I'm receiving, is it real? I wanted to know, is it real? I think we all do. I still do. I still ask Spirit, give me a different way. Give me something else. And I'm grateful for every answer. And at the time, I decided that the way I was going to advance and understand, those very important questions that were going on in my head, was to get some training. So I did go to the Arthur Findlay College for the first time in 2016. And there I really felt at home, and I felt a sense of peace. And I really felt the sense of, well, this is normal. You know, this is something that we all experience, but there's the people that talk about it and those that don't. So I was so happy to be in an environment for an entire week with people that would, all we did was talk about it. All we did was work with spirit. So that was my first real entree into understanding that there is a structure to this work, that there is tremendous responsibility that comes with this work, that there is our natural ego that wants to step in there and get in the way all the time, even if we think we're pushing it aside. And so that was a great experience for me. I highly recommend it. And, you know, and I met people there at the Arthur Findlay College and other places I've studied. I've studied in England, I've studied in Holland, I've studied around the US. And at every instance, I will tell you, there have been people there who are not working mediums. They are not, have no interest in doing this professionally. And they are still coming out of there with just a wonderful sense of knowing. And so I do encourage people, you know, if people ask me, well, is it a place for me to go or should I study? I'm not saying that you have to go abroad to do that, but I think that having classes, having some structure with, you know, those tutors, those teachers who really come at this from, you know, the strongest integrity and authenticity is a beautiful thing. So I highly recommend that. That is my path. That is what I did. I decided to study. And because I had so many questions, I'm sure I was the nightmare student who, you know, kept asking, you know, well, how does that happen? And why do you know that? And prove it. And, you know, I asked all the same questions. And, you know, I just kept hearing in my mind, in due time, in due time. You know, it's kind of this all will be revealed sort of thing. And, you know, I think for me, that was just part of the excitement of it all, really the excitement. So I did studying. That opened up more doors. I read more books. I started reading for friends. I started to realize, wait a minute, this isn't about me. There's a healing component here that I don't hear too much about. And I want to know more about that. And then I realized what it was doing for me personally. And the mediums that I speak with and that I know in my circles, you know, we all talk about the reward for us, which is that feeling of true love, that oneness, that connection. And when we're connecting and making that link with the spirit world, how beautiful that feels. I hope for every one of you that you have that experience yourselves. If it's not something that you are working on from receiving it directly from spirit, then it's my hope for you that you do have that from a medium that you sit with, that you feel the energy of your child, because that, in my opinion, is the most ultimate form of connection. Evidence is wonderful and it's a requirement for mediumship, but feeling the presence of your loved one is the ultimate gift. And that is what I wish for all of you. So that's my story. And it, you know, it just evolves and it continues to evolve in how I receive. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that as well. I know there are a lot of questions that I had early in my journey about what does it feel like? Because I think some of you are feeling those things as well. So if you all would like to go on a little journey, I thought we could do a short exercise in sitting in the power. And I can explain a little bit about what that is. So there's meditation, and meditation is a very passive exercise. It's quieting the mind. And then what many of us do who are looking to connect more deeply with spirit, we do what's called sitting in the power. The power is your own power. So you're tapping into that source love and that power that we are all born with. And we're sitting with that, and we're blending with the spirit world. And as you do this on your own, you can absolutely do this on your own. We're going to do it as a group today, which I think will be very interesting, because whenever you do something like this in a group setting, every person that's here in the group acts as a battery for the other person. So there's this exchange of energy, and it's such a beautiful thing. And as mediums and those that connect with the spirit world, as we sit in circles on a regular basis, it's the same sort of energetic sharing. And so if that's okay, Elizabeth, I thought we could do that tonight, and just, have a few minutes of quiet time and reflection time, and, calling in our loved ones as we sit in the power and share this power. Okay? So what I'd like to ask you to do is just put your feet flat on the floor and close your eyes. I want you to take in a deep cleansing breath and release it slowly out the mouth. Be aware of your surroundings, the scent of the room, the temperature around you, any sounds that you might hear. Are there birds chirping out the window? Is there a dog sitting next to you? Just open your awareness to the surroundings in your space. And as you do that, bring your awareness now to the center of your being. Here, I want you to imagine a ball of light, a spark, the sun, whatever it is that feels comfortable for you is right for you. This is your power. This is your God-given power. This is what connects you to all of source energy, all of the spirit world, and all that is love. This is your love connection. I want you to feel into this love. Feel into this energy. And as you do, with every breath, push out that energy, that power. Allow it to consume your entire being. With your next breath, push this power out to the walls around you, the space where you're sitting. Imagine this energy building and building, touching all of the power that surrounds you. Now, as you do this, I want you to think about your loved ones in the spirit world, your beautiful children who are here tonight to connect to this power. You're the beacon of light. You've just turned on the porch light, inviting them home. This is something you can do daily, many times a day. There's no limit to sitting in the power. I'm just going to leave you there to sit with your loved ones, sharing this energy that binds us all. You may receive a physical sensation, a facial twitch or tingle. Your hands might become warm. The top of your head might begin to itch or tingle. You might feel nothing at all. Know that all of this is absolutely perfect. Now I'll allow you to sit in this energy, just enjoying it, taking it in. Sit with no expectation, but to share your love. As you become aware of my voice, please bring your attention back to your body, back to where you're seated. Take your time. Be very gentle with yourself. There is no hurry. Simply bring your awareness back when you're ready. Elizabeth, I can't see people, so I don't want to disrupt if anyone's deeply enjoying their time.
I'm sure it's fine, and we can move forward. And this was wonderful.
How did you all find that? I'm curious what people's experiences are when they do this. I sometimes get very emotional. I don't know if any others do, but I sometimes shed a tear when the spirit world comes close.
Brian, do you want to give her some
Yeah.
answers there?
Yeah, Jamie said she got tingles in her hands and feet.
I see.
Gina said I cried. Debbie had a floating sensation. Blanca said it was very emotional. Tingling on the right side of my head. Tingle on my hands and head, got warm. Beth said she felt someone touching her left arm.
That's awesome, Beth. Now I got the itches. It's spirit. Oh, that's beautiful, everyone. Thank you so much. I could feel so much love in this virtual room. It was unbelievable. And oh, I see some of you are saying that you got to talk to your child. Now, I'd love to know, how is that different, if it is, from when you've meditated before? Because I find that for me, I like very practical, fit it in a box. Tell me how to do this. You know, the kind of lofty explanations of things, they don't work so much for me. I want very tangible solutions. So I am really, really curious. Oh, good. Gosh, I can see, I have the chat open. I can see some of these comments. Waves all over your body, Rashan. That's beautiful. And some of you felt touched. Now, that's a perfect segue into what I was going to talk about next, which is, what does it feel like to be a medium? What does it feel like to receive from the spirit world? Well, you've just all experienced it. That's what it feels like. It feels like this overwhelming love, and sometimes there's quite a shift. So you might hear mediums talk about a shifting consciousness or altered states of consciousness. And when blending with the spirit world, just as you all were doing, by the way, you were all in an altered state. You weren't necessarily in, outside of alpha, but you were in an altered state. And that's really important to understand, because we can accomplish it on our own. You don't need someone else to sit with you and do this. So I do hope that feeling these emotions, feeling your loved ones. Now, there is sometimes a difference, certainly when you sit in a group like this, but I would say do this if you want to do it with even one other person. Absolutely life-changing for me when I started sitting in the power on a regular basis. So the tingling that you get, why does that happen? You know, the sense of warmth in your hands, or your feet might feel cold. Sometimes we'll feel, as spirit comes near us, we'll feel these temperature adjustments, these temperature shifts in the room. And that's all very natural. Never anything to be afraid of. You know, this is all based in love, and spirit wants us to accept them. The more that you do this, I just got chills. The more that you do this, the more they will make themselves known. Because it's not enough to want something really badly. I mean, how many times do we say, I really want that dream visit, or I really want to find that sign, that coin or feather, or whatever the sign is. But where the magic happens is when we just give gratitude. That's got to be my word for the day, for the night, for the year. It's really all about gratitude. And, you know, I wake every day and I give gratitude to the spirit world before I even get out of bed. Thank you for being with me. Thank you for guiding me. Thank you for opening me up to the possibilities that I won't ever understand, that I'm not worthy of receiving. But thank you. And so you can say that to your children. Thank you for giving me new opportunities and new ways of enjoying. And yes, you will enjoy it at some point, of enjoying my connection to you, right? Because that's really what it's about. So as you sit in the power, and we did it for a very short period of time. There's no right or wrong. You can sit for 5 minutes if you have a busy day. You can sit for 50 minutes or longer. I believe you're going to feel the most within about a 30-minute session. So give yourself that time. Give yourself that time to really sit and go on that journey and surrender the mind. That's probably the hardest thing as a medium. Trusting and surrendering. So you all are no different than me. You need to learn to trust and surrender. And so as we look at this and we take our awareness back to what just happened, how you just felt in those moments. I think we sat for maybe 5 minutes, 7 minutes, not very long. But I bet you already want to go back there. I know I do. And that's the love. That's the feeling of, you know, wanting to get to that space with our child, our children. That's important. So what does it feel like for a medium? Well, it feels a lot of different ways, and it's different every time. I will tell you that. At the basic level, what we just did is an initial experience. So before I would do a reading, or before I would sit and do some of the trance work that I'm doing now, which is blending with the spirit world, I would sit in the power. I sit in the power and I allow them to come close. I get myself out of the way because there's no room for my mind. They don't need it. They're far too intelligent. You know, when we really look at what the spirit world is capable of and the tangible aspects that they bring to this work and to the engagements that they have with us, if you think about it, there are many tangible examples. So the warming of the hands, the tingling, all of those things are going to be expressed. And that's caused by what I believe, and I'm definitely no physicist or scientist. However, what I believe is that we are feeling the energetic blend. You know, if you rub your hands together very, very fast for a long period of time, and then you do this, and you can all do it right now, you'll feel it. You will feel like it's so fun to do. We used to do this in some of our mediumship classes, and you would go up to someone else and you can feel where you almost can't put your hands quite together. You'll feel that energy. That is exactly multiplied by many thousands what's happening from the spirit world connects with us. So think about it that way. It's all energy, so it will affect everyone differently. I'm a very sensitive. I'm one that can't take a lot of heat, for example. You know, my body just gets sensitive to certain medications and things like that. So if you are one of those people, you might find that it is much more, it's expressed in a bigger way for you. And you just kind of breathe through that. But that's how it feels. When you first start to make that connection, you'll feel that energy from the spirit world. You then oftentimes will feel a bit of a shift. And I explain this kind of like you are when you have a daydream, or when you space out, maybe when you are, you know, glancing off into space and you just kind of lose your sense of self. That's a shift in the energy. And when that happens, you are able to kind of put yourself in the back seat and allow your spirit communicators to come forward. And it absolutely does feel like you're making it up. I am not going to lie about that. It feels like you are absolutely out of your mind making it up. It's just a story that's happening, but you're not creating it. And then as you get more used to that happening, it becomes comfortable. It becomes welcome. And so, you know, I say also getting to know your children, which you already know them so well. You know them so, so clearly. But I often wonder if we think about others in spirit who are aiding our children. These are your spirit guides. These are guardian angels. Yes, I believe we all have them. And any number of other helpers. I'm discovering new helpers every day. So, you know, it's really interesting to think about that and to think about what are our children doing on the other side and how are they learning? Because I do know this, they are learning to communicate with you just like you are learning to communicate with them. I mean, think about that. Isn't that amazing? And we're all at different levels. You know, I could maybe try to play the piano, but it would not be pretty. But I could do it, you know, and I think I have to remember that with the spirit communicators too. There are some in this group, I recognize faces that I have read for. Some have been, you know, just extraordinary examples of your loved ones coming through. I had one who had me get up and dance and, you know, act like I was on stage, and I didn't sing. I didn't want to embarrass myself, but, you know, they want you to take on these physical characteristics sometimes. And that is so fun and so, of course, evidential, but it also, there's something in it for the medium, right? There's always something there that as we share that energy, it's just right there, and you can't doubt it. And why would you? And it's such a beautiful, beautiful thing. So, and then I have others that are very quiet and maybe shy and maybe kind of stand in the background, and maybe a grandparent or a sibling or, you know, another loved one is there kind of encouraging them, saying, step forward, step forward. We get that too. So go easy on your loved ones. They're certainly trying their best. And, you know, there's always the fun stories too, when because their energy now, their new existence, the existence that we all go back to and have come from, they can manipulate electronics, right? That happens a lot. And it happens because it's energy on energy. And so having the music play on your phone or in your car, or having the TV go on, or certain things that happen is absolutely spirit manipulation. And it's phenomena. It's phenomena that they are experimenting with. So when it happens, I say, give gratitude, tell them thank you, tell them great job. I love it. I love what you're doing. All of those things are a big part of it. So, so that's how it feels. I think it's important to know that when we are in the presence of the unseen world, the spirit world, there should be an overwhelming sense of love and compassion as well. I have never had a negative experience. I don't know really what to attribute that to, because I know some others have. So I'm, not questioning that. But I do know that I stand very firm in my conviction that love trumps all. And I don't allow anything else to come in. I don't give it any thought, because I do believe thoughts become things. And I think that lead with love, lead with gratitude and compassion, and that opens up your abilities to connect with spirit that much more. It makes you such a wonderful, I want to say conduit. It makes you that much more accessible to the spirit world. When you are the sitter in a mediumship reading, your energy matters just as much as the medium's energy, as the spirit world's energy. It's really a three-way, it's a triangle effect. And coming to a reading very open, without expectation. Of course, we want to hear from our loved ones, but other than that, kind of release the expectation. And that's what they're looking for. They're looking for a clean slate from which to work. We don't want to put too many demands on the other side, because what if they're not quite ready to do that? What if that's not a balance within their energetic field that's poised for that type of communication on that particular day and time? It's not for me to say. So do come to a sitting or an event, or just to blend on your own with very little expectation. That's important to talk about too. And then lastly on that topic, spirit will show up when there is a need. Not always when we want it, right? That is probably the hardest for me to accept. I want them to come all the time. I have no problem with that. And I know all of you do as well. However, they know that you have this life that is extremely important and extremely worthy of being fulfilled in many other ways. And they won't cross that line. Again, they have an intelligence that is innate, that is known from the time we're born throughout our soul existence. It doesn't mean that they cross over and they're all of a sudden Einstein. Doesn't mean that. They retain their human characteristics, and they do that, I think, a lot for our benefit. Because if we can acknowledge them immediately, recognize them straight away, that is such a gift. And that is what they want for us. They don't want us to have to work hard to have that connection. And then lastly, how do you tap into your own abilities? I've talked a little bit about this, and as I've been going through, and things just come to mind tonight. But I definitely do believe that sitting in the power is the starting point. I also believe that writing, journaling, if that is something you're comfortable with, is very, very helpful. Anytime you're applying your awareness through your body, through a hand, writing via your hands, I think is the best, personally, rather than a keyboard, a computer keyboard. But writing with your hands really, really helps that energy flow. Gratitude daily. I mentioned that earlier. Absolutely gratitude daily. I also think being healthy, maintaining a healthy lifestyle. You don't have to be a marathon runner. You don't have to do all those things and change your diet. You have to be open, and you have to be willing to be that vessel. That's really what it's about. I also think taking classes, studying, sitting in a work group, even if it's a 1 hour online, there's so many options coming up right now with all the quarantine, but sitting in a group, even if it's a circle, and just experiencing that energy is a beautiful thing. And then I think ultimately it's really about immersing yourself in spirit. That doesn't mean losing sight of the responsibilities that you have in this life. But as I look at it, it's really, for me, not a job, certainly not a burden. It's a calling, and I think one that everyone in this Zoom room has. We are all called, or you would not be here tonight. This is not a passive interest. There is more to it. And once you start to dig deeper and look for that, the answers are there. The answers are absolutely there. I'm just trying to think if there's anything else before we open it up to questions that I wanted to cover. I think just to say that the reality of all of us being one is so apparent when you start to really trust in the spirit world. And you cannot go wrong. They will never let you down. They are always at your side. And knowing that and trusting that is the ultimate first step on your journey. So thank you for that. Thank you for listening to kind of my story and my beliefs.
Thank you. That was beautiful. And I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording right now.
Okay.
And then Brian is going to field questions for you. There have already been some questions that have been written in the chat box, but thank you so much, Anne. That was beautiful.
Oh, you're welcome so much.